Hi, it's Jeff. So, here's the story of how it happened. A little over a year ago, I retired from the job that I had, and I was leaving my office, saying goodbye to folks, promising to keep in touch. And one thing that a couple of people said that surprised me was, "Oh, we'll miss hearing your music." And I'd rather hoped, I think, the whole time I was there that they couldn't really hear my music because I didn't want it to be bothering them. But in fact, I listened to music all the time. I started listening to classical music when I was a teenager. It interested me somehow. It became my thing. I started learning more. I listened to more. I was playing cello at the time, so I played more. I was in a symphony orchestra. And I developed the habit of listening to a lot of music pretty much all the time. And I felt that when I was trying to work, my mind would be restless if I wasn't actually listening to music. After enough decades of that and listening to everything that I could get recordings of that I could, and the classical music stations that we had, whose playlists as over time became, I thought, very limited to me. In the last several years, I've worked harder at trying to find new things to listen to because I wanted to hear exciting, interesting, new things that I had never heard before. And beyond the top 100 that the classical music stations would play, there's so much great music that has been written and ready to be heard. And I started to find outlets. The internet age had come past. It was new. There were radio stations streaming from Europe that I could listen to. They tended to play different music. There was music that was available online, both to buy, just to listen to. And I found a lot of sources for things that were new that I could hear for the first time. And that was good for me. I did a lot of that in my office too. When I am listening to this music, especially now at home, uh, once I was staying at home more after retirement, I would be working on something. I would have the music in my home system playing. I would be listening to music that I had never heard before. And every now and then something would come along that at that moment was just the right thing. It would catch my ear. It would say, "Stop for a moment, listen to me, give me your full attention. It might be worth listening." And I did. And I started to make a list of these things. And before long, a year ago, I started once a week to email my friends who said they'd missed my music with these with links to these little snippets of music that they could listen to, and I hope they would listen to. Now I think of them as little things that I call Amuse Oreille, bonbons for the ear. Just nice little things that are worthy of attention for a few minutes, and that you can learn something from. They've enjoyed listening to those, and it has led me to think that there is a lot of value to what we would call mindful listening these days. Taking 3 minutes, putting away other things that might distract you, and listening to something that maybe you've never heard before, maybe by a composer you've never heard before, maybe something that's old and familiar that you've just never bothered to listen closely to in years, and listening to it. You hear more, it does things for your mind, you think about it, you grow. It's a good experience. And and maybe if we're lucky, you find things that interest you, that catch your ear as well. And so what I'm doing here, I think of as our little tapas bar of music, typically short pieces that have caught my ear at one time or another and seem to me worthy of the few minutes it takes to listen to them and see whether you like them or not, whether they do something for you, whether you hear a composer and you say, I might like to hear more about this composer, or maybe this is a movement of a piece you'd like to hear more about. And if you did, then sometime I encourage you to go and listen to more of it. You've heard something you like. It's like at the tapas bar, you find a flavor you like, try a bigger dish of it next time, and you may expand your experience and be surprised at what you end up enjoying. I'm glad to have you along for this. Bye for now.